I'm so thrilled to have Joanne here, who is an amazing client who has experienced a transformation. Um, and just to remind everyone about Joanne's story, we're going to delve into it now. But Joanne came to me 7 months ago in a very different state. So with insomnia, and her issue was she couldn't fall asleep. And she has managed to change that through the protocols and through the program. So I'm going to ask Joanne the questions, and hopefully you can hear it yourself from her. So welcome, Joanne. Thank you for joining me.
Okay, you're very welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. And Joanne, can you give me a little bit of background as to your life, what your life was like before we met? What kind of challenges were you dealing with on a daily basis?
Okay, so most times I would have a hard time falling asleep. It would take me hours. It would take me like until 4 a.m. to fall asleep. And I didn't feel tired at all. And so, yeah, so I went to see some professionals from some help. And it still wasn't, after years of doing that, and it still wasn't where I wanted it to be, which was, maybe 7 hours of sleep at night. And being able to fall asleep and not being scared to go in my bed at night, because that was always the big problem. That's where I was at, was that I didn't want to go to sleep because I was afraid to stay awake all night. So yeah, so that, and I also took sleeping pills because of course you go see your doctor, and this is the first thing they prescribe. And actually, even worse than my doctor prescribing it, my family would be giving me sleeping pills, like my mom, to help me fall asleep. And I just knew that it wasn't very good for me. So I really wanted to get off of those. So it's another reason why I needed help.
Okay. And tell me about the moment when you realized you needed to do things differently.
Well, it's I saw your ad on Facebook, I guess, and it just clicked for me. I just thought, this woman gets it. She really understands, because you really do feel alone when you have insomnia. Um and so, yeah, it's just, I thought, hey, this lady is compassionate. She's sort of has scientific background. And because sometimes you do wonder if it's not just in your head, but also it's physical. So, yeah, so I just thought, you know, she's going to be able to help me.
Okay. And why did you choose to work with me? So you've mentioned it there. So that the compassionate piece, and you felt that, from seeing the ad and the video, the scientific background. But if you almost didn't join, what hesitations did you have? Did you have any hesitations?
Yes, yes. So my husband was supportive. He was on the call, as you remember.
Yes.
And so it was good. He was afraid that it was like some scam or something. So he wanted to be on the call. And so it went well. The call went well. And then after that, we found out how much it cost. And so I was ready to go for it, but he was sort of thinking, that's a lot of money, are we sure? But he said yes. But actually, my family, it took me a while to even approach my family with that, because I didn't think that they would support me with this, but I went with it anyway. And I'm happy I did.
Great. And I'm happy you did too. You've been a wonderful client. And let's talk about results. So how different are things now?
I would say that I feel more confident. I feel like I'm taking care of my body. Um, I feel um, like not anxious. I'm not anxious before I go to bed. Like, I've seen good results where I've slept, like I fall asleep at night. And Yeah, it's way better than it used to be. And I think the secret also with this program is that it's got its ups and downs. Um, and you tell us about that. And I think that's a really important thing because it can't always be great and you always sleep 8 hours a night. Um, so I'm accepting of this. Um, I know that I can work at it for it to be better every night, but my mindset is better. And I think that my body, with the supplements I've been taking, it's sort of healed. Um, because it must have been difficult for my body to not have all those hours of sleep that I should have been getting. And yeah, and also we haven't talked about it, but the results of the tests, and now to understand, how my body is handling it was also uh, a wow factor, I guess. So that was a good thing.
Yeah. And how did you find the
Yeah.
testing? Was the results a relief to you, or a surprise?
I uh, actually, the funny thing is like I'm an anxious person. I try to pretend that I'm not often. Some people think that I have it all together, which I don't always have it all together. But when the tests did come, I remember feeling anxious about doing them because they had to be so precise with the timing and everything, and even sending them off. And so I remember being a bit anxious about that. And then after I had it all done, it was like, that was easy. Like, why did I stress over that? So for the test, just to do them. And then for the results, I was like so surprised of how much it could read, like how much information we could get out of the tests. So I shared them with some people, with my sister, with the other people, and yeah, I just found it really interesting. I still don't understand it perfectly, even if you repeat it to me often, even if I read it in school. Uh, but yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very glad I've done it. Yeah.
Okay, great. And in your case, we found a lot of things like we do with many people with insomnia, but in your case, there were particularly a lot going on with the gut. So I can see why you weren't able to fall asleep. And your adrenals as well, and the fact that your body, when you got anxious, it would release adrenaline instead of cortisol because you had very low cortisol. So what your body does when it's stressed and it doesn't have the cortisol to release, so it goes immediately to adrenaline. So that's what was keeping you awake a lot of the times. And also your genetics. So your COMT gene means that you have a hard time winding down. So so there's ways to combat that when we know the results, but it explained a lot to me about your behavior, and I hope it did to you too. So but those were the results. And just going back to Easy Sleep Method and the resources, what resources have you found most helpful that you would credit to helping you with your success? Or was it people on the program, like different teachers, or any particular resources that you found really helpful?
I think all of it. It I think what I liked is that I just didn't feel alone anymore with my insomnia. I felt like there were people out there like me, or the sharing helped. I remember at the beginning, I was uncomfortable with the Zoom calls because I don't necessarily like getting like attention towards that problem. Like receiving, like talking about it. It felt I don't know, weird. Uh, but in a way, I grew with that, right? With all the Zoom calls and talking about it, what you're grateful for, how it's going. It was a growing process for me. to be able to talk about it. So that was good. Of course, what you have to say, or what, and emails are wonderful. Um, yeah, it was just like the whole thing, Frederico with his, I don't know, I just it got me talking to other people about my insomnia, and I felt I felt comfortable, I felt safe. A side thing, I mean, probably other people probably don't feel that, but I mean, I would go see my doctor, which I don't see, I see her once a year, and I would cry about my insomnia. I would talk to her and I would cry about it, and all she would say is, well, we have to put you on meds for depression or anxiety or whatever. So it felt good to be able to see other people, to talk with you, uh, and not break down, or to be myself, and yeah, so it was a growing experience for me.
For sure. And thanks for sharing that. And there were many times I remember as well where you emailed, and sometimes it was the weekend or other
Mm-hmm.
days for support, and there was always an answer. So that's one of the biggest things we pride ourselves on as well, is the
Mm-hmm.
support. So what advice would you give to other people who are looking for help? Maybe they can't fall asleep like you, or maybe they can't stay asleep. So
Wake
what
up.
advice would you give other people who are
Yeah.
looking for
um that's a tricky one, because um you really have to be fully engaged in the program, and I guess I would have to, like, speak to the person to feel if they were. Like, I actually had a person um, that told me indirectly about, like, we didn't talk about her insomnia, but her mom told me that she was living with insomnia, and I actually thought, of explaining to her what this program was, but I had to know that she was fully committed with it. And I felt like she probably wasn't. So I didn't push it. So uh, I don't know. I would just say that you really have to, like, those supplements, you really have a lot of supplements to take. And, you have to be, looking at your schedule and taking them. Um, and so that's a commitment. And so, yeah, I guess when I, if I speak to the person that was interested, I would just have to know that, they're really, yeah, they're really committed into trying to better their sleep.
Correct. Yeah. The commitment piece is huge, and I always do ask people
Good.
how committed they are. They really need to be very committed, because it's 6 months, and it's an investment of not just money but your time, and you really need to want to succeed. I can
Yeah.
show you the path, but you really have to do the work. So yeah, I would agree.
Yes. And also, when you don't have a lot of support, because people think, because I mean, when you show those supplements, people think, oh my God, you're putting that in your body. Are you sure? This must be a scam. This can't be working. Oh my God. I mean, yeah, you get a lot of these people. Like, I got a lot of these people, even today. But, you just have to, you just have to listen to your gut. You just have to listen, and you think, I'm going to do this because it's important.
Yeah. So there was something there in you that even on the first call we did, and then throughout that skepticism from your friends and family, there was something in you that knew that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I would say.
Well, I mean, I think it's because I approached, different people, trying to help me in different ways, and that didn't seem to work. So, yeah, yeah. But even today, I went to see my acupuncturist, and she came out with something like, well, I was happy you followed that program because it gave you a schedule. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, a schedule. I said, it's not just a schedule. I said, it was good for my mindset too. It was good for me to do something about it, because as you know, we people that have insomnia, we're like going to be on Google and research everything and trying to fix ourselves. And, you're bombarded by so many different things. And so it's tiring. And every minute of the day, you think about it and you're trying to fix yourself. And, oh, it's really tough. So this program really helped it. Just, you just stopped doing all of that, right? You just said, oh, Anne Marie, is going to help me out with this. And you just let it go. And you just think, it's going to work. This is just going to work. I'm just going to let it be, and it's going to work.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And anything else you want to add to wrap up the conversation?
No, I don't know. I'm gonna miss you. I have already told you this.
Oh, yeah, I'll miss you too.
If it's just like if I just read an email, I feel you're there, like just through an email. So yeah.
Yeah, you've been a wonderful client, and I'm so happy for your success. So well done you for doing it, and well done on trusting your gut and signing up and doing all the hard work and getting your sleep back. So I'm really proud of you.
Oh,